My name is Natalie. I am 29 years old. I live in a small apartment in the city. I never thought my life would feel like this. When I was younger, I believed love was simple. If someone said, "I love you," I thought they really meant it. I thought love stayed. I thought it grew. But now, I am not so sure. When I met Andrew, I was not looking for anything. I had just moved to the city. Everything felt new. I had a small job at an office. My days were quiet. I went to work, came home, made dinner, and watched TV. I didn't know many people, so it felt nice when someone paid attention to me. Andrew was one of the first people I met here. He worked in the same building, one floor above mine. He smiled at me one morning in the elevator. "You're new here, right?" he asked. His voice was warm. I smiled back and said, "Yes, I just started last week." After that, we saw each other almost every day. He brought me coffee once. He remembered how I liked it. I felt special. I told myself, maybe this is how love begins, with small things. We started talking more. Then one day, he asked if I wanted to get dinner. I said yes. That dinner turned into many more. Soon, we were always together. He came over on weekends. He stayed late. He held my hand when we walked outside. He made me laugh. I thought, this is it. This is love. I felt lucky. After 6 months, Andrew asked if I wanted to live together. I was surprised, but also happy. I said yes. We found a small apartment. It was not perfect, but I didn't care. I was excited. I bought new dishes. I picked new sheets. I made the place feel like home. I thought we were building something real. At first it felt good. He kissed me in the morning. We made dinner together. We watched shows on the couch. But slowly, things changed. I didn't notice it at first. It started with small things. He stopped texting me during the day. He came home late and didn't say much. He looked at his phone more than at me. One night, I made his favorite dinner. I cleaned the apartment. I even wore the blue dress he said he liked. When he came home, he said, "You didn't have to do all this." He didn't smile. He didn't even hug me. I felt cold inside. I laughed a little and said, "I just wanted to do something nice." He said nothing. He ate quickly and went to the bedroom. Another time, I asked him if he wanted to go out on Saturday. Just the two of us. He looked tired and said, "Maybe. I'll see how I feel." Saturday came, and he said he needed rest. But that evening, I saw photos on his phone. He went out with friends. He never told me. I asked him why he didn't say anything. He said, "I didn't think it was a big deal." After that, I started to notice more. When I talked, he didn't listen. When I was sick, he didn't ask if I was okay. When I cried, he stayed silent. Once, I cut my finger while cooking. I called him to the kitchen. He walked in, looked at it, and said, "Be careful next time." Then he left the room. I told myself maybe he was just busy. Maybe work was hard. Maybe he needed time. I tried harder. I made his coffee in the morning. I asked him about his day. I planned small dates. But nothing changed. He still looked distant. He still forgot the things I told him. He never said thank you. One evening, I was sitting on the sofa, holding a small photo of us from our first trip together. In that picture, he looked happy. He was smiling and holding me close. I looked at myself. My eyes were shining. I looked so sure. I asked myself, where did that feeling go? That night I asked him, "Do you still love me?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at the TV. Then he said, "I don't know what you want from me. I'm here, aren't I?" I felt my heart sink. I wanted him to say yes. I wanted him to look at me the way he used to. But he didn't. Sometimes I feel like I live with a stranger. We sleep in the same bed, but it feels like we are far away. He wakes up, gets ready, and walks out the door. No kiss. No good morning. No smile. At night he eats, looks at his phone, and says, "I'm going to bed." I sit alone. I clean the dishes. I stare at the wall. I ask myself, is this what love feels like? My friends ask me how things are. I say, fine. They ask if I'm happy. I say, yes, I'm okay. But inside, I feel empty. I don't tell them the truth. I don't say that I cry in the bathroom sometimes, that I sleep with my back to him because I don't want to feel the space between us. One Sunday morning, I sat by the window. The sun was out. The sky was clear. I thought it would be a good day to go outside, maybe take a walk, buy flowers, feel alive. I asked Andrew, "Do you want to go out for a bit? Just to get fresh air?" He looked at me and said, "Why? Can't we just stay in?" I didn't answer. I just went back to the window and watched people walk by. I started to think more about the past. I remembered how I used to laugh more. I used to listen to music while cleaning. I used to feel excited to cook something new. Now I just go through the day like a machine. I cook, clean, work, sleep. I don't feel seen. I don't feel loved. One night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed with my eyes open. I turned to look at Andrew. He was sleeping, peacefully. I watched him for a minute. Then I whispered, "Do you even see me?" He didn't move. He didn't hear me. Or maybe he did, but just didn't care. I think that hurts the most. Not the silence, but the feeling that I don't matter. That if I disappeared, he wouldn't even notice. That maybe he never really loved me. Maybe he just liked the idea of me. The comfort. The easy routine. Not me, the person. Before I continue my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Sometimes I wonder if someone out there really understands me. Just knowing you're here gives me strength. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror. I looked at my face. I looked tired. My skin looked pale. My eyes looked dull. I didn't even feel like brushing my hair. I touched my cheek and asked myself, when did I stop taking care of me? I used to wear bright colors. I used to smile when I saw my reflection. Now, I barely look. At work, I made a small mistake in a report. My team leader said, "Natalie, please focus more." I said, "Sorry, I didn't sleep well." But that was not the truth. The truth was, I hadn't slept well in weeks. I was tired in my body, but more than that, I was tired in my heart. I felt heavy all the time, like I was carrying something too big for me. That night, I asked Andrew, "Do you think I'm different now?" He didn't even look up from his phone. He just said, "Why do you ask that?" I waited. I wanted him to look at me. I wanted him to care. I said, "I just feel like I'm not the same." He shrugged and said, "Maybe you think too much." Then he turned on the TV. I didn't say anything after that. I just sat there. I felt a deep quiet inside me. Not peace, just silence. A sad silence. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I wanted to leave the room, but my legs didn't move. I just sat, like a small object placed in a corner, waiting to be noticed. One afternoon, I was cleaning the closet. I found a small scarf. It was red with tiny white dots. I wore it on our first weekend trip. I smiled when I saw it. That trip was full of laughter. I remembered how he held my hand and said, "You look beautiful in this scarf." I sat down on the floor and held it close. That memory felt like a dream now. Soft, far away, and not real anymore. I started to wonder, was it me? Did I do something wrong? Did I change too much? I cooked. I cleaned. I asked how he felt. I listened to his stories. I said sorry even when I didn't do anything wrong. What more could I do? What more did he want? Or maybe he didn't want anything at all. Maybe he just didn't want me. One evening, I tried again, and I said, "Do you want to go out for dinner tonight? Just the two of us?" He sighed and said, "Can we not do this now?" "I'm tired," I said. "Do what?" He said, "This. Talk about feelings. Make everything big. I just want some peace." His words felt sharp. I said nothing after that. I went to the kitchen. I sat on the chair and stared at the fridge. I could still hear the TV. He changed the channel. He was fine. I was not. That weekend, I went to the store alone. I walked slowly through the aisles. I didn't need much. I just didn't want to be at home. I didn't want to feel invisible. At least in the store, people said "excuse me" or "hello." That felt more real than what I had at home. I passed a couple near the fruits. They were laughing. The man touched the woman's hand gently. She smiled. They looked happy. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I turned away quickly. I didn't want to cry in public. I didn't want to feel jealous. But I did. When I got home, Andrew was on the phone. He didn't even ask where I had been. I put the bag on the table and said, "I got a few things." He said, "Okay." That was it. No smile, no interest. I felt like I was just there. Like I was just part of the furniture. Like I didn't matter. That night, I lay on the bed and turned to face the wall. I felt the mattress shift. He got into bed but didn't touch me. We used to hold hands while falling asleep. Now we slept like two strangers in the same room. My eyes stayed open. I whispered, "Do you even love me?" He didn't answer. He was already asleep. The next day, I decided to meet my old friend Sophie for lunch. She lived in the city too, but we hadn't met in a long time. When she saw me, she said, "You've lost weight. Are you okay?" I forced a smile and said, "Just busy." She looked at me for a moment, then said, "You don't look happy." We talked for a while. I didn't tell her everything, but I said enough. I said, "I feel like he doesn't care anymore." She looked sad and said, "Natalie, you deserve someone who sees you, not just lives near you." Her words stayed in my mind all day. Later that night, I made tea and sat on the couch. Andrew came in and said, "What's this? You never make tea at night." I said, "I felt like it." He looked at me for a second and then walked away. I sat there, holding the warm cup in my hands. I told myself, this is the first thing I've done today just for me. In the days after that, I started doing small things for myself. I took short walks alone. I bought a book. I watched a film he didn't like. I listened to songs from years ago, songs that made me feel something. I didn't do these things to hurt him. I did them to remember who I was before him. One night, he came home late. He didn't call. He didn't say sorry. He just said, "I had stuff to do." I said, "You could have told me." He said, "I didn't think it mattered." That word, mattered, hit me hard. Did I matter? Did we matter? I went to bed early that night. I stared at the ceiling. I asked myself again and again, why do I feel alone? And the answer scared me. It was because I was alone. Not in space, not in walls, but in the heart, in the place where love should be. He was near, but not with me. He saw me, but didn't really look. He heard my voice, but didn't listen. He knew my name, but not my feelings. How long could I keep living like this? The next morning, I stood in the shower and cried. The water hid my tears. I whispered, "I just want to feel loved again." I didn't need flowers. I didn't need big words. I just needed to feel seen. I needed to feel real. A few days later, I came home from work early. The sky was cloudy. The air felt heavy. I walked slowly up the stairs to our apartment. My legs felt weak. I didn't know why. Maybe it was the long day. Maybe it was something deeper. I opened the door. Andrew was there, sitting on the sofa, looking at his phone. He didn't even look up. I stood in the doorway for a moment. Then I said, "Hi." He said, "Hey." That was it. No smile. No question. No warmth. I took off my shoes and put my bag down. I stood there, waiting, hoping, but he said nothing more. I walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge. I didn't feel hungry. I just wanted to do something, anything, to fill the silence. That evening, I sat on the edge of the bed. Andrew was in the living room. I held my hands together and looked at the floor. I thought about all the times I waited for his love. I waited for his voice. I waited for him to ask how I felt. But he never did. I gave and gave. But what did I get? He came into the bedroom a few minutes later. He said, "I'll be out again tomorrow night. Some friends are coming to town." I looked up. "You didn't tell me that," he said. "I didn't think I had to." I asked, "Do you still want to be with me?" He looked at me, confused. "What kind of question is that?" I said, "A real one." He sat on the other side of the bed. He didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "You're always so emotional. Why can't things just be normal?" I felt like my heart was sinking again. I said, "Maybe this is normal for you, but it doesn't feel like love to me." He stood up and left the room. That night, I stayed awake. I thought about our first day together. I thought about how happy I was to move in. I thought about all the meals, the talks, the quiet mornings. But now, those things felt like old photos. Nice to look at, but no longer real. I looked around the bedroom. It felt cold. It was full of things, but empty of love. I asked myself, is this what I want forever? I didn't know the answer yet, but I knew I couldn't keep living like this. Something had to change. I had to choose myself. The next morning, I got dressed and left the house without a word. I walked through the park near my work. I sat on a bench and watched the trees. I saw a little girl run to her mother and hug her tight. The mother smiled and kissed her head. I felt my eyes fill with tears. That small moment felt more like love than anything I had felt in months. I met Sophie again that evening. We sat at a small table in a quiet place. I told her more this time. I told her about the nights he didn't come home, the cold dinners, the silence, the way I felt invisible. She looked at me and said, "Natalie, love is not meant to make you feel small. It's supposed to lift you." Her words felt like sunlight in a dark room. After dinner, I went home. Andrew was not there. I sat on the bed and looked around. I saw the photos on the wall. I saw the clothes in the closet. I saw the empty chair. I asked myself again, do I stay and wait for something that may never come? Or do I choose peace? I didn't have the answer yet, but for the first time, I felt something different. I felt the strength to ask the question. That was something. Later that night, Andrew came home. He didn't say much. I didn't ask where he had been. We ate in silence. I watched him. I watched how far away he looked. I felt like we were two people standing on different sides of a river. We could see each other, but we couldn't touch. That night, I didn't cry. I just lay in bed and thought. I thought about how many times I gave without receiving, how many times I smiled through pain, how many times I told myself, maybe tomorrow will be better. But love should not be a hope that never comes. It should not feel like waiting in the dark. The next day, I went to work early. I stayed busy. I answered emails. I helped a coworker. I made a cup of tea for myself. I looked out the window and felt calm. Not happy, not sad. Just calm. That was new. That evening, I walked home slowly. I stopped at a small shop and bought myself something simple. A small plant. It was green and soft. I didn't know why I bought it. I just wanted to bring something new into my life. Something that needed care. Something that would grow. When I got home, Andrew saw the plant and said, "What's that for?" I said, "It's for me." He didn't say anything. He just walked away. I placed the plant near the window. It looked small, but full of life. I smiled at it. In the days that followed, I continued with my life. I went to work. I read a little. I took short walks. I didn't try to make things better with Andrew. I didn't ask for his time. I didn't beg for love. I just waited. Not for him, but for myself. I waited to feel sure, to feel strong, to feel ready, because this time, the choice had to be mine. And now, as I sit here and share my story, I still live in the same place. He still sleeps next to me, but the distance is still there. The love I hoped for never came, but something else is growing. My voice, my strength, myself. I don't know what will happen next. I don't know if